I'm going to focus on Elizabeth Warren's plan because it is the most clearly and worked out and detailed plan. Here's her plan. She would require an annual 2% tax, 2%, on all portfolios or all net worth individuals who have, get ready now, more than $50 million. So a lot of you listening and watching can relax because Elizabeth Warren is not after you. If you have $50 million or less, none of what I'm about to describe to you will affect you. You're not part of the story. And how are they going to be taxed? 2% of what they have above 50 million. The first 50 million, nobody gets taxed, including these wealthy people. Only what you have in excess of 50 million will be subject to a 2% tax. And if you have more than 1 billion, you will be subject to, get ready, a 3% tax per year. Okay, how many families in America are going to be affected by this tax? Answer, 75,000 families. That's in a population of 325 million people. I did the arithmetic. Here's the percentage of Americans that will be affected. Ready? 0.0002. Wow. How could you get really excited about this if 99.99999% of the people are not affected by this tax? Well, our conservatives, ever ready to defend the 0.00002%, are on the job. This tax will raise over $10 million, 10 years, $2.75 trillion of revenue, able to solve many of the most egregious problems of American society. Wow. You could help 325 million people by taxing, ready, 2% of the money owned by people who have more than 50 million, leaving them, of course, with 98% of what they had. They would still be the richest people in the country. But the conservatives are apoplectic. One of them on Fox News recently referred to this as a confiscation tax. They're taxing our property. That is awful. That's my property. And you know something? It's even worse than awful because I already paid an income tax when I earned that money, and now I used it to buy property, and they're going to tax my property. Isn't that awful? And to go even one more step, they said, over 10 years, you multiply 10 years times 2% a year, that's 20% of my money. They really got excited. So let me respond, because their excitement is based on a level of ignorance which is so enormous that I don't really believe it. I think they know better, but they think we don't. So I want to deal with that. Let's start. Taxing twice. You're right. You are taxed when you earn your income, and then if you buy certain kinds of property, you're taxed again. One is a tax on income, and the other one is a tax on property. But there is nothing new and nothing exceptional about this. Let me give you an example. If you earn money, you pay an income tax. Suppose you use that money to buy a home. Guess what? There's a property tax on your home in the town where you live. So you're paid income tax, and then you pay a tax on your property. That's not new, and that's not exceptional. What you're screaming about, Mr. Conservative? There's nothing new here. If you earn money, you pay an income tax. If you then buy a car, you pay a property tax on that car. Once again, income tax and then property tax. Ironically, what the conservatives don't want you to know is that there is a kind of property that doesn't pay a property tax in the United States. You know what it is? It's property in the form of stocks and bonds. In every community in America, they tax land, they tax buildings, they tax automobiles. But they do not tax stocks and bonds. It's the one kind of property that is exempt through the history of the United States, most of it. Wow. The fact is, it's a highly unjust system, this property tax. It taxes cars, homes, and land. That's the property average people sometimes have, at least the better half of them, in terms of income. 10% of the people own 84% of the shares of stocks and bonds. They're the ones escaping from a property tax on the property they're rich enough to own. And Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are going after that, which should have been done 100 years ago. There's nothing new and nothing confiscatory about it. If you're really worried about confiscating property, you should have been complaining about the tax on homes and the tax on cars, which you conservatives carefully avoid doing it. And now the funny joke about multiplying 10 times 2, and I'll give it to the conservatives, it adds up to 20. You're right. But what you forgot to remember is the wealth grows each year. It's 2%, but not of the same amount. It's 2% of the wealth as it grows. And 2% is a lot less than they're going to make. Because if you have this kind of money, you hire a hedge fund to manage it for you. By the way, you know what hedge funds charge rich people like this? 2% a year of the value of their assets plus 20% of how much it goes up. It's called the 2 and 20 rule. So rich people are used to paying 2% a year to their hedge fund manager plus 20%. The government is only coming and asking for 2%, not 20% of what it goes up. So the joke is it's a fake. They don't want to pay the tax. That's all that's going on. Rich people don't want to pay the tax, which should come as hot news to nobody.